That profound, deafening silence. The one that comes after the great effort is over, when the curtain has fallen on your long performance of self-denial. You gave up the creative path for the stable career. You moved across the country for a partner who never asked you to. You spent years being the easy one, the one who never made a fuss, swallowing your own needs to make room for everyone else's. You paid the price. You made the sacrifice. And now you stand in the quiet aftermath, your hands empty, waiting for the applause, for the cosmic validation, for the person you did it all for to turn to you and say, "I see what you did. It was all worth it." But all you hear is the hum of the refrigerator and the sound of your own breathing. The world didn't even notice the transaction was complete. It just kept on spinning. That hollow, echoing feeling in your gut isn't you being dramatic. It's one of the most important signals you will ever receive. It's the feeling of a fundamental law of reality making itself known in your life. We have been taught a very old, very powerful story, that suffering is a currency and sacrifice is a sacred investment. That if you pay enough in pain, in bitten tongues, in deferred dreams, the world will eventually pay you back with interest. It's a transaction, a noble, unwritten contract we sign with life itself. I will endure this now, and in return, you will grant me peace later. I will give up this piece of myself for them, and they will grant me unconditional love forever. I will work until I collapse, and the universe will grant me success and recognition. We pour our life force into one side of the great cosmic scales, absolutely convinced that the other side will eventually balance out with everything we ever wanted. And so we wait. We become professional waiters, experts in enduring, telling ourselves the reward is just around the corner. But the architecture of how things work is not a marketplace. There is no divine accountant tracking your sacrifices in a ledger. There is no cashier waiting to validate your receipt of pain. Look at it this way. You stayed in that toxic friendship for years, absorbing their negativity, always being the one to apologize, believing your unwavering loyalty would one day heal them and solidify your bond. You weren't being a friend. You were watering a plastic plant day after day, year after year, expecting it to bloom. Your sacrifice wasn't a noble act that reality was observing. It was just you spending your precious water on plastic. Reality wasn't being cruel or ignoring your efforts. It was simply demonstrating a neutral truth. Water on plastic doesn't create life. It just makes the dust run. The devastating sense of meaninglessness comes from the final, undeniable realization that you were trying to force a connection where none was ever possible. You were trying to power your home by plugging it into a drawing of an electrical outlet on the wall. You can push with all your might. You can sacrifice your strength, your hope, your belief. But the lights will never turn on. It's not a punishment. It's not a judgment on your effort. It's simply feedback on the nature of wiring. We learn this pattern so early, it becomes part of our breathing. If you're good, Santa will bring you presents. Study hard, and you'll get a good job and be happy. The principle is woven into our foundation. Endure the task you dislike to earn the reward you desire. So, we build our entire lives on this flawed blueprint. We stay in a city that drains our soul for a job that promises a vague sense of security someday. We play a role in our families, the responsible one, the funny one, the invisible one, sacrificing our authentic self for a fragile sense of belonging, hoping one day they'll see the real us and love us anyway. We give away our yeses like free samples, hoping someone will finally value us enough to not ask for anything more. We believe our suffering makes us deep, that our sacrifices make us worthy. But reality doesn't operate on worthiness. It operates on resonance and flow. It's like a great river. You can spend your entire life on the riverbank, sacrificing your energy, your health, your joy, to build an elaborate dam to try and force the water to go where you think it should. And when your masterpiece of sacrifice is complete, the river will simply find a new path. It will flow around your monument to effort, because its nature is to flow, to move towards the sea. The river isn't mocking your hard work. It's just being a river. The crushing feeling of futility isn't the river's judgment. It's the bill coming due for having fought against its true nature for so long. This moment, this shocking revelation that your sacrifice was meaningless, feels like a death. It feels like you've been climbing a mountain for decades, only to reach the summit and find that it's the wrong mountain. The view you were promised isn't here, and all you have are your aching muscles and the years you can never get back. But here is the central paradox, the hidden key turning in the lock. This isn't the end of your journey. It's the end of the map you were using, a map that was drawn by someone else, a long, long time ago. You were the main character in a grand play you had written for yourself, a tragedy where the hero suffers nobly and is finally redeemed in the last act. You played the part with absolute conviction. But the world was never your audience. It wasn't watching your performance or waiting for the finale. It was simply being the world. And the script you were following, the one about sacrifice leading to reward, was written in a language that the architecture of reality does not understand. That hollow feeling is the sound of the illusion shattering. For years, your energy was a constant, outward flow poured into a project that could never be completed. It was like trying to fill a bathtub with the drain wide open. You just kept turning the tap higher, thinking, I just need to pour more. I need to be better. I need to sacrifice my need for rest, my need for joy. Then it will finally be full. The exhaustion in your bones is real. The sense of loss is valid. But the moment you finally see the open drain, you can do something you haven't done in years. You can turn off the tap. You can finally just stop. That emptiness you feel isn't a void. It's the newfound space that was once occupied by that frantic, draining, pointless effort. It feels strange and empty now, but it is pure potential. It is the beginning of reclaiming your own life force. The most meaningful moment of your existence is not the moment you finally receive the prize for your suffering. It's the moment you realize you never had to suffer to be worthy of your own life in the first place. This is the great threshold. You are standing here now, surrounded by the rubble of that old, inherited story. The story that joy must be earned through hardship. The story that self-denial is a virtue. The story that the universe is a stern parent that you must please in order to be loved. It isn't. The way everything works is far more simple and far more honest. You are not being judged for your choices. You are simply being shown a result, a feedback loop. That which is forced cannot last. That which requires you to shrink will eventually break you. That your energy, your precious attention, is yours, and pouring it into a connection that doesn't flow both ways isn't noble. It's just a leak in your own foundation. For the first time, You can see the leak without illusion. You can see the open drain. And now you have a real choice. Not the false choice of how to sacrifice, but the true choice of whether to continue at all. The silence that surrounds you isn't the absence of a reward. It is the arrival of a profound and startling peace. It's the quiet space where a new, more honest story can finally begin to take root. A story that starts not with a grand sacrifice for some future reward, but with a quiet, simple breath. The first breath you've taken in years that isn't holding itself, waiting for an answer that was never going to come. By the way, our shared space of light and awareness is on its way to 100,000 people. Thank you to everyone who subscribes and brings this moment closer. And in that quiet space, the first instinct is often to feel wronged, to feel that reality has been cruel, that it has cheated you out of a promised reward. But the way everything is set up is not cruel. It is just profoundly, relentlessly honest. The universe doesn't have a personality. It doesn't get angry or disappointed. It is more like a perfectly clear mirror. For years, you have been standing in front of this mirror, making a pained face, expecting the reflection to eventually smile back at you in gratitude for your effort. But a mirror can only show you what is there. Your feeling of meaninglessness is not a punishment. It is simply the mirror reflecting the truth of your action back to you. It's reality's way of saying, in the most neutral, non-judgmental voice imaginable, the energy you are putting here is not creating the effect you desire. Think back to that plastic plant you were watering. You could get angry at the plant for not growing. You could curse the water for not nourishing it. You could blame yourself for not watering it with enough love or devotion. But all of that drama is a story you are telling yourself. The truth is simpler. The plant is plastic. Your anger and blame don't change that. The feedback from reality was always there. The soil never got wet. The leaves never unfurled. The painful moment of realization is when you finally stop arguing with the feedback and just accept it. The plastic is plastic. The pain is intense, but the clarity is a profound relief. You can finally put down the watering can. You can finally stop waiting for a miracle that was never going to happen. The honesty of reality, once you accept it, is the greatest gift you can receive. It frees you from a game you could never win. Now, here's what's happening inside you right now. For years, maybe decades, a huge portion of your life force has been directed outwards, poured into that impossible task. Imagine your life energy is like water flowing through a network of pipes. A massive pipe was directed towards making them happy, or proving my worth, or enduring this until it gets better. It was a constant draining outflow. When you finally realize the sacrifice was meaningless, it's like you walk over and turn a giant valve. You shut off that pipe, and suddenly, all of that water, all of that energy has nowhere to go. It stops flowing out, and it starts to back up. It starts to fill your own reservoirs. This is why the first feeling after the great collapse is so strange. You might feel a buzzing stillness, an unfamiliar quiet in your mind where the constant worry used to be. You might feel anxious because the habit of giving yourself away is so strong that having all this energy for yourself feels dangerous and selfish. What do you do with an evening when you're not emotionally managing a difficult parent? What do you think about when you're not replaying a mistake at work, trying to earn back your boss's approval? That energy, which you thought was gone forever, was never destroyed. It was just misdirected. And now, is returning home to you. You will feel this as a new kind of power, not the power to control others or to force outcomes, but the quiet, solid power of a full cup. For so long, you have been operating from a deficit, trying to give what you didn't have, hoping your sacrifice would somehow refill you. It doesn't work that way. Now, for the first time, you are beginning to live from a place of surplus. Your attention is yours. Your emotional energy is yours. Your Sundays are yours. This is the beginning of true creation. You can no longer blame the empty void for draining you, because you have turned off the tap leading to it. Now you are left with yourself, your energy, and the honest reality in front of you. This is the point where real transformation begins. It starts with the small choices. Your entire life has been guided by a story. It was a beautiful, tragic story about a noble character, you, whose suffering would one day be redeemed and given meaning. Every choice you made was designed to fit that narrative. I'll take this lower-paying job because it helps people, and that sacrifice will make me a good person, which will lead to happiness. I'll stay in this relationship because I've invested so much time, and leaving would mean all that suffering was for nothing. Do you see the pattern? You were making choices in the present to justify the pain of the past. You were a slave to your own backstory. You were trying to write the final chapter of a book that reality was never reading. When you let go of the need for your sacrifice to have meaning, you are freed from the story. You are no longer a character trapped by your own history. You are simply here, now. And you can start making choices based on a completely different question. Not, what does the story of my past demand of me? But what does this present moment call for? Not, how can I make this sacrifice worth it? But, does this action bring me more alive, or does it drain me? It's the difference between navigating by a fictional map of a fantasy kingdom and navigating by the actual stars in the sky. One keeps you lost in a dream, and the other guides you home. You stop ordering the same terrible meal at the same terrible restaurant just because you've been eating it for 10 years. You look at the menu of your life right now and choose what actually nourishes you. Maybe you start painting again, not because it will lead to fame, but because the smell of the paint makes you feel whole. Maybe you end a conversation that's going in circles, not out of anger, but out of a simple respect for your own time. You are no longer living to prove a point. You are just living. This isn't about becoming selfish. It's about becoming sustainable. It's about understanding that your life force is the most precious thing you have and directing it towards things that are wired to receive it. You start watering real plants. You start plugging your lamp into a real socket. You have conversations with people who are actually listening. You invest your love into connections that are reciprocal. The feedback loop changes. Instead of pouring your energy out and hearing only silence, you put your energy into something real and feel it come back to you, amplified. That is the feeling of being aligned with the way things actually work. You are no longer fighting the current. You are learning to swim with it. That hollow ache in your chest was the sound of a lie breaking. The lie that you are only as valuable as what you give up. The truth is, your value was never in question. It was never on the table. You were born with it. The world was never asking for your sacrifice. It was only ever inviting you to participate in its flow, to touch what is real, to connect where there is a current. to let go of what is a dead end. The tragedy was not your sacrifice. The tragedy was that you believed it was necessary. But that story is over now. You stand on the shore of your own life, no longer trying to dam the river. You can finally just put your hand in the water and feel its movement. You are no longer a character in a tragedy. You are the one who is simply here, awake, and finally, truly free. If this video changed something in you, write in the comments, "My sacrifice is over." Write it as your promise. Nobody